Yo, 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 what is up, everybody? This is Colin, back at it again with episode 34 of A New Direction, the podcast where I talk about all sorts of things, cover a variety of topics, and whatnot. I know it's been a while since I have done one of these, about 10 months now, probably, like way back in 2022. It's 2023 now. So I guess I did say in my last video that it was going to be me getting back into the swing of things, and that just never happened. So I do apologize for that. I'm certainly sorry for anybody that I let down. But new year, new ideas, new aspirations. So maybe we can get back into a consistent schedule. Don't hold it to me because it's hard to say. However, I would like to try to get back into doing this a little more frequently. I don't want to say I'm going to commit to a schedule because as far as right now, I'm very busy with the life and such. But yeah, I mean, we're going to start it off just like any other episode. We're going to do the music recommendation. So this episode, and fair warning, I may have recommended this album before. I'm really not sure. I haven't gone back and watched any of my previous episodes that I did. But today we're going to be recommending Illuminance by Vervum, which is I would almost describe it as like an atmospheric technical death metal album, which I know is kind of like I don't know, people like to tack on all these different tags to genres and such, but it really does kind of suit this album. There's a lot of clean, atmospheric, ambient passages, but it's also very much tech death. It has the fast kind of blasting drums and the necrophagist inspired riffing and sweep riffs and solos and stuff. So I definitely think that it's a album worthy of praise. It's kind of underrated. I don't see a lot of people talking about it or even, I don't know, seeing a lot of mention of it at all. It came out in 2017, so it's been out for a good minute now, and it's still kind of on the down low. I don't feel like a lot of people have talked about it, so I did want to give it a shout. Very talented songwriters, very technical music, very hard to play, very, I don't know. It just resonates with me because if I were to write a tech death album, that is kind of how I would want it to sound. It has a very spacey kind of vibe to it that I'm a huge fan of. But yeah, some notable tracks. I mean, all of the tracks on this album are really good. I believe there's 6 or 7. But my favorites would have to be Earthwork and Tentacles of the Sun. Definitely are standout tracks for me. But like I said, the whole album's really good. I highly recommend checking it out if you have not delved into tech death before. I think it's a good album to get a good taste of what the genre can offer. But with that out of the way, we're going to dive into the meat and potatoes of the episode. And so this is pretty much just going to be like a long form update video. And before I go any further, I do want to apologize for any noises that you may hear in the background. I do have my fan going, and I also have a video on the TV playing for my cat who likes to beat the TV. And yeah, it's a bird right now. So if you hear any bird noises, I do apologize for that. But anyway, getting into the content here, I did kind of want to do some different talking points about what's kind of happened in the past 9 or 10 months that I've been out of the YouTube game. I haven't really done content or even recorded any videos or anything like that in a long time. I did kind of get out of that with, work and stuff, but as far as I recall, going back to my previous sort of era that I was doing videos during, I worked at Firehouse Subs and I hated it. I drove Goose, which was my '03 Mustang that I love to death. And I believe my last episode I talked about the speeding ticket I got in that car and had some other kind of stories to talk about. Let's see, what else was I doing back then? I believe I had just recently released my latest album, Elegy, which, I'm going to go ahead and shout myself there, plug it, go listen to it. Yeah. But I think that kind of is the overall synopsis of kind of where I was at. So a lot has changed. I mean, like I said before, it's been what 9 or 10 months since I've been on here, done any sort of content, and a lot changes in that time. So I guess the first place we'll really start is going to be my new work, my new job. I've worked at a new job since Firehouse for almost 7 months now. It's technically a food service job, but it's in a retail store. I work in the deli department. It was a substantial pay raise from Firehouse. And even though I'm not in a management position currently, I still make a lot more money than I was making as a manager at Firehouse. So that's cool. I will say that I don't want to like name drop where I work, but if you live in the Southeast, it's a pretty popular grocery store known for their sub sandwiches. So that probably gives it away to any of my viewers who live, the Southeast, East Coast type area. But yeah, I work in the deli department, and I will say, going into the job, I felt like I was like, yeah, I'm going into a retail store, so it should be a better experience. It'll be different from Firehouse, and I guess to an extent that's true, but it also has its own issues that Firehouse did not have. So it's kind of like a trade-off. I mean, as far as the pros go, working in a deli department, at least at my store, it's definitely the most stressful department to work in. There's so many different jobs and things that have to be done in order to ensure that the department runs smoothly. And most deli associates, I mean, you're kind of expected to know how to do everything. And so, unfortunately, at my store, there are a lot of people who don't know how to do everything. Many people know how to do a lot of things, but being able to run all the different stations is its own kind of beast. So, I definitely have tried my best to work my way up and learn every possible thing, ask as many questions as possible, and it's paid off. I mean, I'm very knowledgeable as far as the products we sell and the stuff that we offer, and I can pretty much help customers get where they need to be and show them where they need to find the products they're looking for. And if they have questions, I feel pretty equipped to answer them. But the department is so vast. There is still more ground to cover, certainly. But delis, I mean, it's a lot, as you can imagine. It's a lot of lunch meat, slicing meat and cheese, making sandwiches, serving hot food, frying food, prepping cold food for sale on the floor, stocking the sales floor, stocking tea, stocking frozen goods, cleaning. I mean, there's a whole gamut of stuff. It's very much like its own mini grocery store within a grocery store, because grocery stores have like a grocery department that kind of handles all of their stocking and goods out on the all the different aisles. But in the deli department, we are responsible for stocking all of our stuff. So when it comes to doing bread and when it comes to doing like frozen breads like Hawaiian rolls and stuff like that, or prepared food, pre-prepped food, the chicken and stuff like that, tea, stuff that we're responsible for having out, we are all supposed to stock it and are responsible for making sure that our part of the sales floor looks good. And so, kind of like I was saying, it's like its own mini grocery store within a grocery store, because we're all supposed to make sure that looks pretty, and as everything is in date and whatnot. So there's a lot of responsibility that comes with knowing your products and knowing what you're selling, how to sell it to people. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm like some sort of salesman. Like, I don't have people coming up and being like, yeah, what can you do for me? And I'm trying to sit here and talk them into buying something, but I am expected to give suggestions and offer samples and stuff like that. So it's definitely a different ball game entirely as far as the work and expectations are concerned, at least compared to Firehouse. Um, and I think that in its own way, it's worse, but it's better in so many other ways because, like, the people I work with at my grocery store, I almost name dropped it. I mean, if I name dropped it, it'd be fine, but the people I work with are a lot better. I don't have any sort of crazy drugged out people, who are pathologically lying every second and, doing crack and stuff. That doesn't happen. But on the other hand, I have employees and coworkers who are very lazy, which is everywhere. I mean, every job has that. They don't really pull their weight. And so, especially when you're closing, which is its own beast, to have, coworkers who are not pulling their own weight is definitely an issue because, you have to get out of the store. You have to, make sure that everything gets done the way it's supposed to. So, before we're able to leave, the manager in charge of the store has to come and walk the department and check everything to make sure it's all, up to standard. It's good enough for us to leave. So, not having coworkers who want to put in that effort sucks a lot. And, as somebody who closes a lot, I definitely bear the brunt of that a lot sometimes. But I'm kind of like what I said. On one hand, the coworkers, they're better people. They're easier to get along with, easier to talk to. But on the other hand, some of them are really lazy. The responsibilities are more so. Like, you have a lot more to do, but on the other hand, like, the time goes by quick because I do work more hours per shift than I was working at Firehouse. And even as a manager there, I have more responsibilities now than I did at Firehouse. So, the time goes by quicker, and because I'm getting paid more, it's easier for me to kind of keep it in perspective and be like, yeah, well, it sucks, but, I'll be out in 4 hours and I've already made, a lot of money so far. So it's definitely got its ups and downs, its pros and cons. If you've never worked a food service job, I would not recommend working in a deli department because all it is food service in a retail store. So, for me, like, working at Firehouse and doing subs before had already kind of prepared me for what I was stepping into. But if you don't have that background or have that experience, I would not encourage you to work in a deli department, or at least in my grocery store that is well known for their sub sandwiches. Don't do it. Go into customer service or grocery, or and I mean, some people are built for it. Some people like to talk and interact with people and serve food to people. They derive enjoyment from that. I am not one of those people. So for me, it's like I get in, do my job, and get out. So there's not a lot of enjoyment there. And with me still being in school, I am in my last full semester of school now, so hopefully I'll be able to get into something either up the ladder in the store that I work at, or something completely different that's actually more career oriented. It's kind of up in the air right now, and that's something I might discuss in a little while. But that's kind of covers my job. It's different. It pays a lot more, and it has its own issues. But that kind of segues us into the next topic, because this job, because it is more lucrative, it pays more money. I actually have a pretty big update, and for those of you who know me in real life, you already know what this is, but I did finally buy my 5.0, my dream car. I did, because of where I work now, the money I was making, the hours and whatnot, the stability, I was able to make it happen. So I am the proud owner of a 2016 Mustang GT Performance Package in ruby red. I'll probably put a picture up on the screen if I remember. But yeah, it's ruby red. It's the performance package, and it's actually pretty built. I bought it from Florida and had it shipped up to where I live. So the previous owner had a good bit of work put into the car, and I know that's kind of off-putting for some people, but so far I've had it for 2 months now. I mean, it's been a very reliable car. I haven't had any major problems out of it so far, and it's a hell of a lot of fun to drive. But yeah, as far as the mods go, it's got catless long tube headers, the Gen 3 intake manifold, the PMOS cold air intake. It's tuned by Palm Beach Dyno, and it has a whole bunch of suspension work. The whole front end was pretty much redone, so it's got tubular suspension. I'm assuming it's like a Panhard bar and upgraded sway bars and stuff like that. And then interior wise, it was a base model car, but the interior is actually leather. Whoever owned it before me had the interior reupholstered. So it has leather seats, front and back, and it still has like the base calculator radio, but I really like, I use the radio in this car a lot more than I did in Goose because it's built-in Bluetooth and the sound system is really good. But it is wintertime, so I'm not able to really cruise a lot with the windows down right now. I do love the way the car sounds. It has the stock catback exhaust, but because it has the catless long tube headers, it does have some volume and a pretty nice tone. I do think sometime in the future I will be swapping out the exhaust system. I was kind of considering doing the Corsa Extreme catback, which would just be ridiculously, obnoxiously loud. And I'm really not sure I want to do that, especially to my poor neighbors who would have to hear the cold starts. But I was thinking about maybe doing like the Roush Axlebacks and an X-Pipe or something like that to delete the resonator and get some louder mufflers on it. But time will really tell. It has the MGW short shifter as well, something I forgot to mention, which makes a huge difference. The MT82 is certainly no Tremec, and even going from Goose to this car, I noticed the difference. The MT82 is a lot less, like it's stout, like it feels sturdy, but it does not feel as sturdy as the Tremec and Goose felt. And that's just something I notice. I will also say it's a little harder, or actually kind of a lot harder to drive than Goose. I don't know, like I've adjusted to it now, but when I first got it, especially the clutch feel was a lot different than what I was used to, and kind of his overall, it's been a big learning experience and an adjustment for me because it has a very vague kind of engagement point. But overall, I love the car. I would highly recommend, if you're a Mustang person and you have the opportunity to buy one of these cars, I recommend it. It still has every bit of the raw kind of feeling that Goose had, which was something I was a little worried about when I bought it, because I had read that a lot of people who bought the 5.0, it was too new. Like it didn't have the same, balls to the wall kind of feeling that the older cars had. But I really don't find that to be the case at all. As far as a daily driver, it's a lot more comfortable than Goose was, and it still has the rugged, you're banging gears, and it's fast, and it's a lot faster than Goose, I must say. But it still feels fun. Like I have fun driving around town, and it has enough power. I mean, it spins first, second, and sometimes third gear, so I really can't get on it in town at all. But even just going 45, like I have a great time driving the car. It's fun. It's engaging, and overall, I'd recommend it. I will say the performance package is probably a must if you're going to buy one. The 373 rear gears, at least in the manual cars, is awesome. A lot of people say that it's a lot of shifting through town, but that's kind of what I was looking for because, like I said, it's engaging. Like it's you feel very connected with the car. So even though I'm turning out of my neighborhood and I'm only revving first gear out for a second before I'm shifting, like it's still fun. Like I'm still enjoying the experience of driving the car. But yeah, that's the 5.0. I got it just by working hard, saving money, and making sure you have good credit is the biggest thing. It is a car I financed, and that was a big step for me as far as I guess growing up. It's an adult thing. You kind of finance stuff, and having a good credit score, keeping your credit balances low, and just making sure you stay on top of your finances. If you're wanting to buy a car like that, then or anything really, it doesn't have to be a 5.0 Mustang or any kind of performance car. If you're trying to buy a car at all, or a house, or trying to rent an apartment or something, make sure you keep your credit score good. Make sure you you're being proactive in keeping your debts paid down, because that looks good to lenders. That's what they look for. And if I hadn't have done that since I got my credit card, I would not have been able to buy the car. So yeah, that's kind of the dream car. How I got it. The future mods, there's really not a whole lot I can do to it. Like I said, it's pretty much full bolt on. I could do E85 in it if I wanted to. There's no E85 around me, but just a tune away from that. And then as far as everything else, would pretty much just be cosmetic. It's very unassuming. It's kind of a sleeper because it looks stock, but it is definitely not stock, and that's kind of what I love about it. But yeah, that kind of covers the whole car thing. After this car, the 50 was my dream car. Now it's kind of the Shelby, the GT350. So maybe in another year or two, I'll have a GT350 parked out there. Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, keep grinding. If you're wanting to buy a car or anything, keep grinding and you'll make it happen. That's my words of encouragement. But that kind of covers the whole job/car era part of the last 9 months. Another big thing I would say that's kind of a personal update has been my continuing. You've probably noticed throughout the video, but I do have tattoos now. I have pretty much a half sleeve going on. I also have some up on my elbow, or past my elbow is what I'm trying to say, up here. And I have another one further up, and I'm turning it into a sleeve. I love tattoos. It's something I got into. I got my first one. When did I get my first one? It was last year, but it was May of last year. I got a little tribute to my grandparents on my leg. It's a golf ball with their names. And that kind of sparked the addiction. Once you get one, you want to get more. So working on this arm, I've got a very spooky little Halloween theme with the ghost, and there's howls, like a spooky house thing going on, and the lighthouse. I don't know if you see it. There's a lighthouse right here. And I got the comets and space and planets and doing more stuff going on. And then this arm, haven't gotten started, but that's coming up too, sooner rather than later. So yeah, tattoos are fun. Would recommend, if you haven't gotten any, to check it out. But that was kind of off the cuff. I didn't really plan on talking about that, but I kind of realized, I have my arms up and doing whatever I'm doing, and they're there. So I figured I would talk about that. Let's see. The next thing was about guitar and my music plans for this year. So I do still play guitar. I actually play it frequently. I still have my Les Paul over there, right there. And I have a bunch of other guitars. I have a baritone guitar. I have 2 amps. I have a Pod Go, Line 6 Pod Go, which is a little modeling pedal board. I still am really into music and gear and stuff. And I do want to work more on music this year, kind of working to release and definitely playing gigs. I played 1 gig in September last year with Acid, my brother's band. I think I've talked about them a few times. I recommended their album Cyclicality on one of the previous episodes. And they're also releasing another album coming up soon, so be on the lookout for that. But yeah, we played a gig in my hometown here. It was pretty awesome. It was actually like a kind of a surprisingly big turnout for a local show. The scene here doesn't really have a huge sort of fan base. Excuse me. But yeah, I played guitar. Might throw up some pictures here on the screen if I remember. I might not even edit this. But yeah, it was fun. I love playing shows, love playing gigs, and the guy who played the drums for the show, me and him are working on some new music as well. So hopefully I'll have some proactive updates to make about that, as far as more gigs and more shows that will be coming up here in the future. But at this point, I really can't say anything for sure. One thing that I will say, I kind of have wanted to get into extended range guitars, so 7 and 8 strings, and specifically headless guitars. I know headless guitars are kind of controversial, at least in the guitar community. You either love them or you don't. Excuse me. I, on one hand, am somebody who absolutely loves them, love how they look, love the ergonomics. I played a Strandberg at a local guitar center, and the neck was interesting. I didn't really get a whole lot of time to really mess with it, but the Endurneck kind of the trapezoid profile that they've got going on was really comfortable. So I wouldn't mind having a Strandberg, but then on the other hand, they're very expensive. Headless guitars in general are pretty expensive. And I want to make sure if I do get one, I want it to have that neck, kind of ergonomic neck profile. There have been a few brands that I've looked at, specifically Strandberg and GOC. GOC is a American-based company. They manufacture their instruments in China and sell them through AliExpress, but they are high-quality Chinese instruments. You know, they're not like a cheap AliExpress guitar. They're something that is a nice quality instrument. They actually get really good reviews, and they have some pretty high-end kind of boutique instruments as well that was kind of surprising for me, that come in right around the cost of like a base Strandberg. But I don't know, I'm kind of on the fence about a Strandberg just because I've read that they kind of have some quality control issues here and there. Your mileage may vary, of course, but I have read that people have had issues with fret sprout and sharper fret ends, and just overall kind of issues that for a $1,500 to $2,000 plus guitar, you really shouldn't be having. And also the fact that I don't really know if I want to spend that much money on a guitar manufactured in a Indonesian outsourced factory when I can spend less money and get a Japanese instrument, even like an American made guitar in that budget. And nothing against Indonesian crafted instruments. I'm sure, especially the Court factory, they make really good stuff. But when I'm spending that much money and I'm reading about some of these quality control issues, it's kind of off-putting because other brands that manufacture their instruments, Ibanez, I believe ESP has some Indonesian guitars as well, Schecter, their lower end couple $100 guitars will have these same kind of issues. So to see the same problems on a multi-$1,000 instrument is kind of off-putting. Whereas I look at the GOC guitars, they're made in China, they're cheaper, but they have perfect fretwork, incredibly good sounding and passable stock pickups that don't even really have to be changed. They're multi-scale, they have quality top finishes, and they look really good. The glow in the dark inlays and side dots, and it's just really cool to see that at a cheaper price, and it also has its own kind of variation of the Endurneck. So cheaper price. And it's Epiphones, they're made in China, and they're really great guitars, so I don't really have any doubts about the quality there. I know some people, some guitars that are manufactured in China are really cheap, like the ones you can buy on Amazon, or the very cheap guitars like no-name brands and stuff like that. And I know AliExpress does have a pretty bad reputation for selling like fake Gibsons and stuff like that, which on a whole other topic, I do not support Gibson at all right now. I love Les Pauls, the Les Paul Custom, but I just can't, and just to note, that is a Greco-Japanese vintage guitar. That is not a Gibson. But I don't know, Gibson's just doing some really shady stuff, using kind of their power to shut down other companies. There's kind of some, murmurs in the guitar community right now with a company called Jericho Guitars that Gibson pretty much shut down because, and I will say Jericho Guitars was using Gibson shapes, but Jericho really doesn't, I don't really feel like they posed a threat to Gibson because Gibson's been around since 100 plus years now at this point. People will continue to buy Gibsons, and I feel like Gibsons, rather than fixing their instruments, because you're paying a lot of money and getting a guitar with a lot of problems, they're not great quality at all. And I had a Gibson Les Paul. I had a Tribute model, and it sucked. Like it had a lot of problems that even my cheapest guitars I've ever owned and played did not have. I just can't get behind that. Rather than fixing their guitars, they're going to strong arm smaller brands who really aren't a threat into shutting down. I don't know. That doesn't that didn't really sit right with me. And Gibson has also sued other companies in the past. I know Dean Guitars was one that, and they actually won the lawsuit. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know, Dean's a lot bigger of a company than Jericho. A lot of people probably haven't even heard of Jericho Guitars. So, that's kind of my point. I mean, I understand, you want to protect your work, your property, but at the same time, like, you shouldn't have to worry about it too if the instruments you're making are up to a quality standard. But that's kind of my little rant about that, and just guitars in general, multi-scales. I do want to release some more music this year, and yeah. So the last thing I want to talk about here before I end this episode is going to be my plans for this YouTube channel, and just kind of different ideas I had as far as the setup the setup that I have right now, and just some other kind of techie tidbits. But as far as the channel goes, I would like to upload some more. I mean, we are halfway through January already, which is crazy. I'm 20 years old now, which is nuts to me. No longer a teenager, and it's kind of weird. I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. But yeah, it's kind of weird. I wasn't really expecting to, because I don't really feel different than 19, but just kind of the existential knowledge that I'm not ever going to be a teenager again is kind of strange, kind of weird. But as far as plans for the channel, I would like to upload, get some more stuff with the podcast going. Just kind of be more active. I know doing these kinds of videos is not the best way to grow a following or even maintain one. I mean, I saw my view counts for my previous episodes and they weren't great. They did kind of decline, but I mean, as long as some people enjoy what I put out, I mean, that's all that I really care about, and I have fun doing it. So yeah, doing some more podcast episodes, maybe doing some car content, some music content, just kind of talking about different things, showing off different things, doing all kinds of different little videos and stuff, gameplay even, if that would be something that people would be interested in seeing. I wouldn't mind doing like a Minecraft playthrough or a Terraria or anything like that. I really would like to play more video games, as I haven't done it in a long time, haven't had the time nor the incentive, I guess. But having more free time, especially my semester this year is looking like it's going to be pretty straightforward, pretty easy. I will have a little more time on my hands, I think. So doing some more stuff like that would be fun, I think. Upgrades to the setup. So I have a pretty modest little setup. I have the MXL 770 microphone that I record through, and I have a little Focusrite Scarlett Solo interface into my PC, which is over a year old, coming up on 2 years this year, so I guess it's outdated now. But as far as like upgrades to what I'm doing now, I would maybe like to get a new microphone and definitely get a new interface. I know, what is the brand? Universal Audio. They have a really nice, because I am on a PC, so they have a really nice USB interface with a built-in compressor and multiple inputs. I mean, I have the instrument input and the XLR, but this one is more feature-packed, and having the compressor, the vocal compressor, I think makes a big difference, especially when it comes to the quality of the audio. I mean, the mic sounds good now, I'm sure, but just having a little more presence, having a little more little higher quality sound, I think is a good thing, and so that might be something I look into upgrading to. But I also considered doing a whole new PC build, which I know sounds kind of stupid because I just built this one like October 2021. But I don't know. I'm impulsive, so new PC incoming ? Maybe not. I will say if I did do that, I'd probably sell off a lot of the different parts in this one. This is a pretty modest build. The only thing I didn't upgrade, I'm still running my GTX 1060 from like 7 years ago now. So that's pretty outdated as far as components go, but everything else is pretty new, up to date, pretty standard. But I don't know. There's always more headroom, always more room to improve. So new PC build coming, maybe, probably not. Definitely another monitor. I have two monitors. That'll be nice. But yeah, I mean that kind of covers, I would say, this home kind of studio. I would like to get some monitors. Some, I have the headphones, and maybe get some more headphones. These are more EQ'd for more fun applications, gaming, movies. Whereas having something with like a flat EQ curve would be a lot better for mixing and doing stuff like this. But yeah, that's about it as far as the upgrades. And then, like I said, the microphone and the interface, and getting some monitors. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers the scope of kind of what I wanted to talk about. Updates, general life stuff. It has been a long time since I've done one of these episodes, so it was kind of nice to get back in front of the camera a little bit and talk, and just kind of give my opinion on some stuff, and talk about what's been going on. I hope that y'all enjoyed this episode, and like I said, I'd like to do some more. Just kind of seeing how stuff works out. Like I said in the beginning, I don't really want to commit to a schedule yet, but yeah, I mean, that pretty much covers episode 34 here. I don't know what I'm going to call it. I have to come up with some clickbaity title to draw in the viewers. But yeah, with all that being said, I hope that y'all enjoyed episode 34 here and learned some stuff. And I hope that I will be back in front of y'all again here soon. But this has been A New Direction episode 34. I have been Colin, and I will see y'all next time. Peace.